So we're going to learn about compound interest. And the thing to remember, compound interest is about whether you're investing your money, you're going to earn interest, or whether you're borrowing money where you're going to pay back interest. And we're going to look at a couple of examples of each. So what we have here are certain keywords that we're going to need for this chapter. So interest, you either earn interest on your savings or you pay interest on your borrowings. And for example, a borrowing would be a car loan or a mortgage. The principal is the original sum of the money that you invest. It's not what we would refer to a principal of a school. It's got a different meaning now. Simple interest is where it's not added onto the principal amount, whereas compound interest is where it is added onto the principal amount and you will basically earn interest. And I'm going to show you two examples now where you can see this working side by side. For this slide, you're going to see where when we find the 5% interest in the simple interest case, we get 5% of 400, which is €20. If I multiply that by 3 for the 3 years, I get €60. And then I add that onto the principal amount at the end, and I earn €460. But if you look across to the blue box, you'll see that when it's compounded annually or per year, you're adding on the interest each time. So just like the first example, you're finding 5% of 400, which we know is €20. But in this case, you're adding it to 400, which gives you 420. And then you're going to find 5% in year 2 of €420, which is €21. And again, you're going to look for €420 plus €21, which is 441. So then in year 3, your new principal amount is 441. You're going to find 5% of that, which is 2205. Add them together and you're left with €463.05. So the difference between the 2 years is €3.05, which in this example might seem very small, but if you were dealing with larger investments, it would make a massive difference. And it does show that you earn a little bit more when you compound your interest as opposed to using the simple interest method. Here we have two examples of why we use the formula F equals P bracket 1 plus I to the power of T. So I've got a principal amount of 1,500 and that's invested for at 3.5% for 7 years. So I'm adding 1 onto my 0.035, raising it to the power of 7 because that's my years. And when I put that into a calculator, I'm going to be left with €1,908.42 because we always round to the nearest cent. So that shows my interest earned on the investment. At €340 at a higher rate of 6.5% for a longer period of 12 years, I used the same approach of adding 1 to the 0.065, which is giving me 1.065, raise that to the power of 12 because that's my time in years, and when I put that into a calculator, I'm left with €723.89, again rounded to the nearest cent. In this example here now, you're going to see that irrelevant of whether it's AER or APR, your method for calculating them is the same. So that formula that I showed you in the last slide there is in your formula and log tables book on page 30. So it's not a case of you have to learn off this formula, but it is a case of you have to memorize it in the sense of how to use it. So let's look at this example. A sum of €100 is invested for a 3-year period in a saving bond, and the AER is 3.23%, and we need to find the future value of the investment in 3 years' time. So we write out our formula straight away because that's going to be a very, very good indicator to your examiner that you know that this means that you're finding the future value and you know what formula to use. So let's outline what we know. Well, we know P, it's €100, it's the principal amount. We know I, it's 3.23%, and when we break that down into a decimal, it's 0.0323. If you were stuck on converting decimals, you can always use your calculator to back that up. And then our time is 3 years. So our future value is 100, bracket 1 plus the interest rate of I to the power of 3. And when we put that in our calculator and break it down, we come out with €110. So the actual investment amount is €110. This means that the interest is €10 over the course of the 3 years. We can have a look at this example the next day, but this is where you're not given any of the amounts, but you're given the percentages. And I'll go through this with you in more detail in our next live class. What I want you to do now is I want you to work through these exercises, questions 1 to 5, using the examples I've gone through in the previous slides and the formula from your formula and tables book.